Colin Powell once said, "There are no secrets to success. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure." And we couldn't agree more. This is Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. We'll talk to people from all walks of life and pick their brains about their journey, the process, and the ups and downs to becoming successful. You want inspiration and motivation? It all starts here. This is the Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. And now your host, Kyle Sullivan.
What's going on, champions? Welcome to another episode of Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Our guest today is Terry Weaver, speaker, author, event producer, podcaster, ideapreneur, whose passion is seeing others live life alive. Whether it's helping others see their dreams, making the thing their thing, traveling around the world, challenging students to change the world, he has done so much in his life. We've known each other for so long, and it's going to be really exciting to have a conversation as we're both in different environments, but we're doing the same thing, and that is impacting people's lives. Terry and his wife, Leslie, live outside of Nashville, Tennessee with their miniature schnauzer. Terry Weaver, thank you so much for being on the show today, man.
Man, Kyle, you champion you. Thank you for having me on the show today, man.
Absolutely. Man, it's so surreal. I feel like we've known of each other for so long, being in student ministry and being in net circles, and now helping entrepreneurs and helping people.
Yeah, dude.
Same thing, just different environment now.
Different environment, dude. I was like, man, I need to update that bio. It still has students in it.
Yeah.
I think I just left it in there, man, because it was such a huge part of my life. I mean, we were just talking years, like, dude, from like 1994 or 5 in there until really 2015. I was still traveling pretty heavily and speaking. Obviously, there was a transition period kind of between 2013 and 16 where it kind of transitioned where it was like, okay, this isn't what I do anymore. And that's what's kind of interesting to this journey that we're on. It's like, we're so like ingrained of the American dream way of thinking. Of like, you go to high school and you graduate, and then you go to college, and then you go like have 2.5 kids, you get married, fall in love, have 2.5 kids, and then you work a job for like 50 years that you don't like that much. Somehow that's become the American dream, and I don't know who sold us that dream, but return to sender.
Right.
And I loved what I got to do for years. I mean, traveling around the country, and I loved especially doing school assemblies, probably more than anything I ever got to do, just because there was such power to be in the trenches of where like life change actually occurred, rather than like, and I don't think you and I have ever talked about this, but my journey kind of really shifted doing school assemblies. I was in Lubbock, Texas, doing school assemblies. I had just got off stage in an arena, given an invitation, and 500 kids came forward to make a life-changing decision. The very next night, I was in, I think I was off for a night, and Friday night, I was in Waco, Texas, literally speaking at a choir retreat. So I went from like being on the front row of life change to preaching to the choir. And man, that moment kind of began to shift in me of like what I wanted to do with the rest of my life and who I wanted to serve. And as we get older, like I think there's a shift that occurs where we start to get way more interested in who we're creating than what we're doing. And the people that we're raising up. And I'm very much aware that, the odometers are rolling, time's running short. I mean, my wife and I literally just celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary yesterday, and we didn't get married at 10, right? So like that, that means age is coming up and like time's running out, like the clock is moving. And I think so many of us live our lives like there's like they go on, like it goes on for infinity. And I think we have these life-changing moments where like things shift. And, things shifted somewhere in the car ride between Waco and Lubbock. just something new began to be born. And so yeah, man, here we are doing whatever it is we do these days.
Yeah. So talk about, because there's a ton of folks that listen that are either in the midst of a transition or they're heavily considering a transition. Uh, it's the great resignation, it's all this stuff. Disruption allows for reflection and people are taking action. So talk to me about, and
And now we're
listeners.
quiet quitting, which is cute.
Oh my God. You must have seen a post I made.
Yeah, I watched your post of the day. And dude, if you can tell anything about me, I don't do a whole lot of things quietly. So I'm kind of like, and what's interesting about quiet quitting is I've talked about it with some HR folks. My wife manages about 600 folks in her position and work. And she has one of those real jobs because, someone's got to have health insurance. And, what's really, really interesting about what's happening right now in the world is just how the world is shifting. And one thing that really in this, I was just watching just how the American wage and what it's done. The American wage really hasn't moved in decades. But my house sure as heck cost a whole lot more than the houses in the 50s did. Heck, my house cost 3 times what it did when we bought it 10 years ago, right? Like the world is shifting, things are getting more expensive, and people's ability to earn at a day job and people are working, you have a ministry background, dude. Like people like, so what did you do for your 40 hours? I was like, 40 hours? We called that Monday. Like, like, so, we've created a culture of like, where people work all the time. They work themselves into the ground and have no joy in what they do. And so, at some point you've got to realize that you spend the majority of your living life at your job. And if it's not bringing you joy and happiness and I dare I say peace, man, get the heck out of there quickly. And don't go quietly either. Get on out of there, make some noise, let everybody else know you're going. I mean, don't leave on bad terms. Don't cause harm, but man, be super clear that you don't want to just fade into the night of the American workforce. And that's what's happening. And I think a lot of people kind of got a glimpse of that during the pandemic where they thought, oh, well, this is a lot. There's a lot. I'm still getting people started working 2 or 3 hours a day and getting the same amount of work done.
Yeah.
Because most of work is nonsense. It's, water cooler talk. It's like, I don't need to talk to you people. I don't like you anyways. Let's get the work done and get on with the things that we really care about. And I think this pause that we've just kind of come out of has given a lot of people a chance to look in the mirror and go, man, there has to be more. There has to be more to this life than what I'm starting to sound like a Switchfoot song here. But, there has to be more than just this mundane existence. And, I love your brand name, dude, Unleash the Champ, because so many people, I think, spend their entire life caged and confined and tethered to the American dream and this people pleasing. And, I have a client right now, went to an Ivy League school, has a job that's amazing, but is literally just miserable. And it's interesting when you think about, man, it's, I never thought of misery as someone making $130,000 a year. But that's the existence for a lot of Americans right now, is they're just frustrated with their very existence. Yeah. And, I think a lot of the gurus, talk these big words, and, I love the shift. Even, we mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk every now and then. And it's like, I love the shift that I've seen him make, because he's literally just talking about, dude, go after like what you want, forget the rest of it. And if you're happy, happiness is contagious. If you're joy filled and enjoying like the work that you do, people are going to notice. People are going to pay attention to your just general well-being. And people come up to, man, you're so much happier now than you were. That people probably said that to you all the time and saying, what's happened? What's going on in your life? And most of the problems that we face with our health and our well-being and all centered around stress.
Mm-hmm.
dude. I mean, I remember, and I know you do this from your church staff days. Like, and I remember sitting in meetings just stressed out on beyond belief about controlling things that I had no control over. And man, in the words of the great Sweet Brown, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time to be stressed out about things that don't matter, because we have such a limited window on this planet, and we have a purpose. We were put, I believe, as a person of faith, that I was put here with a divine purpose, that God has given me an assignment, and I want to be really focused on that and not distracted by, even, this revenue generate. I mean, we've all you got to make a living somehow. But man, I would much rather that be in question than your just personal well-being of just literally just in the office dying and ready to do something different. And, I, I think, I think there's never been a time in history like we're alive right now. Now granted, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world. Um, I told a friend the other day, and I was like, I don't know where we are in the John Hagee flowchart, but I feel like we're at the end of it. But the world just feels like it's spinning out of control. And that's honestly where I feel like what a lot of my friends do is we're hope dealers, man. We're just in the business of delivering hope and delivering that there is a better way, that something else is possible, that more can be had, dude. And so, that's, so if you're thinking about making the leap, jump now.
Yeah.
I
So
love the
on that,
Japanese proverb that says, that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
that's right.
And
So
so,
Terry, talk to the people that are going, okay, cool, I'm gonna plant a tree today. But then there's a lot that comes with that, maybe fearful of the unknown, fearful of success, fearful of whatever. Like, go back to when you said, okay, I'm gonna start my own deal. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna jump out, get out of the boat. I'm gonna go into the storm, whatever the phrasing. What were some of those
pick
things
your
that kept
analogy.
you grounded? Yeah. What were those things that kept you grounded in the transition? And as people are hearing this now going, okay, like, this is confirmation. I'm hearing this. What are the things they can expect, and how did you overcome
Yeah. Well, do you want good grounded, or do you want the things that actually kept me from doing it, or
it?
both?
Yes. Yeah, let's go both.
Because grounded, we say grounded, and I wrote a book called Making Elephants Fly, right? So, and literally the cover of the book is an elephant breaking free of the chains that are holding him to the ground. And, and what's super interesting about that is the things that chain us down are most likely people. They're most likely broke, busted, and disgusted friends. They're people who have who want to live a small life. And, I tell the story. I had two friends in Nashville that were putting on a concert at Bridgestone Arena. And I realized, my friend Shane Quick and my friend Lee Holt, who manages Laura Daigle. And one of the things I realized, that like my life was changing because I surrounded myself with people that had arena sized dreams. And when you surround yourself with people that have big dreams and big aspirations and who are living big lives, your life either measures up to that, or you're no longer welcome at the party, right? Like, and so most of us are hanging around people who have like small, tiny backyard pup tent dreams for their lives. Those are the people that you meet like at the neighborhood barbecue, that are just, that on Saturday afternoon are already maybe that's the better word, but already dreading Monday. And I mean, how many people do you meet that? Do you find, if you're in a place and you're finding yourself on Saturday afternoon already thinking about that? Seth Godin has an amazing quote that says, we should build lives that we don't need a vacation from. And I'm not saying we don't need vacations. I believe every leader should be taking at least a month off and taking a short minimal of once a quarter getting away. But I think that the things that keep us from what we actually want are most likely not things, they're people. And what it is it's that we have given people an audience with our dreams. We have allowed people to speak into our lives that should not get a say. We start building lives to please people that we don't even like. And so, the things that kept me down, the opposite are what pulled me out of it, right? Like bad friends, bad relationships, people with small visions, people with big visions, people with big aspirations, people who do have arena-sized dreams, people who are reaching and moving and pushing. And the problem is for a lot of leaders is they're trying to do this process alone. They're not plugged into community. They haven't found a coach. They haven't gotten around people that are there to walk them through that process. And doing these things alone you're just, one of the quotes that I've kind of drive my life on is this African proverb. Since we're busting out the proverbs, we went to Japan, let's go to Africa. But if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. In my life and everything I do, that see play out of the reality of if you want to go far, go together. When I wrote my book, Making Elephants Fly, I started like watching a bunch of like animal documentaries, and I understood what that quote really meant when you would watch the lions chase after the gazelles, because the benefit of being in a herd is you don't have to be the fastest on the savannah. You just you don't want to be the slowest. And when you're around other people, when you're around community, that there are people there to drag you along. And one of the animals on the savannah that I actually kind of just blown away by is hyenas. And we've seen them in the movie The Lion King, right? But hyenas are not very big animals, but a group of hyenas can tear a lion to shreds. I mean, we watched it in Lion King, right? And we've missed that part. And when sometimes we are underdogs, sometimes we're in situations where we're not the lion. We want to be the lion. We want to be the king of the jungle, but oftentimes we find ourselves that's not who we are. And by surrounding ourselves with other people that are like-minded, man, that's what allows us to survive. And I can't tell you when the right moment is to quit. You'll know when the moment to take the leap is. You'll know when it's time to step into what's next. I think you need to ask yourself as a person that wants to do big things, who's keeping me from my destination and who's helping me get there. Almost take like an inventory when you go in your pantry and realize like, wow, this can of green beans has been here since the 20s. Like we all got to go in our pantries. That's an extreme, but like, was this passed down as a family heirloom? We did that over the holiday weekend where it's like, wow, we've had this box of rice for 4 years after its expiration date. We're not going to eat it. Let's bless the trash can with this box of rice because we ain't eating this thing. Nasty. So you've got to go through the pantry of the inventory of your life and figure out like, and then you might need to go shopping. You might need to go find some ingredients that you're missing in your pantry. Leaders that can help you get there. And, that famous quote that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and by Jim Rohn, like, dude, that's so true. I know we want to like blow that. Everybody like hates that. Like, I don't like that, but it's true. If you're hanging out with people that are doing big things, you're doing big things. And if you're doing small-minded things, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be hanging out with small-minded people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like attracts like.
Right.
So,
yeah. And it also repels unlike, the magnets have two ends, right? Like we get a little worried. We get too worried about making everybody happy. And we sacrifice our own wellness and our own happiness for trying to please everyone else. And the moment that I learned, dude, that I wasn't for everyone, there are some people listening to you and I talk right now. They're like, man, these two boneheads, I want nothing to do with it. This is nonsense. I love my job. Well, if you love your job, stay there. But here's the reality. You probably wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you just were loving your job. So,
yeah. So let's shift a bit to what the thing is now. And so talk about the journey of starting that, how it's evolved, what you got coming up with it, and talk about the thing.
Yeah, dude, I started a conference about 5 years ago called The Thing. And I had a business partner. We had done an event together in Orange County, California. And our kind of working relationship ended. And I knew that, like, hey, man, I needed to, because my first move into doing this is I did stuff with other people. And I think that looking back, in some ways that was an awesome thing. In some ways that was like, I definitely, looking back, I'm able to see what I could learn from it. In a lot of ways, it was a mistake because I didn't believe in myself enough. Rather than getting better mentors, I allowed other people to benefit from my genius at a reduced price. And so, yeah, man, we started The Thing. We've done 5 of them now, and we have our one coming up the first weekend of November in Orlando. And The Thing is really just an event for anyone that has a big dream and a big, or in the middle. We have a group, about half of our people come are, have no idea what they're doing and trying to figure it out. And we literally have our VIP track actually splits in half. So you can, kind of discover your thing. We actually take them to the Strengths Finders course. They do a Strengths Finders test as part of that. One of our speakers is a certified Strengths Finders trainer. And we actually go through that kind of process. And then we have a group of people who are already doing their thing, who are like killing it. And so you put all those people together in a space, and interesting things start to happen. And I looked around this inventory. I took inventory, and I realized that my friends kind of fit into those categories. That I had people who really wanted to do amazing things, and then I had another group of people who were really brilliant and really smart that not a lot of people knew about. And so I wanted to create a place where those people who had brilliance could begin to get the confidence to take the stage and to like build a business and to build a brand around their knowledge. Because the real shift in all of this is when you stop getting paid for what you do and you start getting paid for what you know. And most of you who are listening today are probably going after trying to find opportunities to get paid for what you do. And when you get paid for your genius and your knowledge, there's a book called The Leap by Gay Hendricks, where he introduces this idea of the zone of genius. And there's 4 zones. There's a zone of excellence. There's the zone of incompetence. There's a zone of competence. There's a zone of excellence. And then there's a zone of genius. And hardly anybody functions in their zone of genius. And the zone of excellence sounds great and pretty, but that's most of us doing things that we're really good at that don't benefit us, but that benefit everybody else. And that's where most people find themselves stuck, in this zone of excellence, where they're doing things that they are, but they're not necessarily. When you do your zone of genius, there's no one like you. You look throughout history, you see leaders like Abraham Lincoln, who brought the world together at a very dark place. He was functioning in his zone of genius. It wasn't his speaking. He, in fact, he was a terrible communicator, but it was his confidence as a leader that was his genius. Obviously, me, I'm a Disney fan. If you're seeing the video version of any of this stuff, I live in Mickey Mouse's basement, it seems like sometimes. And, Walt Disney was someone who lived in his zone of genius, and his zone of genius was putting the right people in the room. Everything Walt did was about getting really talented people around him. And if you want to look at a leader that's really actually a leader, they're often not the most talented person in the room. If you want to look for a leader that's ego-driven, they're often the one that's the most talented in the room, because they want to stay the most powerful in the room. And so at The Thing, man, we've just tried to create an environment, a community where people can come and learn and discover, and find other people who are on the same journey, because trying to do this alone is impossible. And doing it without the tools, and even watching how you've pivoted online with content, like video content has gone from being like king to like world, like Austin Powers. Like it's the only thing. Like, it's world domination at this point. If you're not making video content right now for your brand, no one's seeing your content. It's just what it is. I hate TikTok, but I'm creating content for TikTok. And so I realized that when I posted like a video of me promoting the thing in Orlando, I had just seen an engagement happen, which I'd never seen. We've been to Disney hundreds of times, and I'd never seen anybody propose at Disney. And I did a reel called, and I don't do the like I don't point at pictures, but I did a reel talking about so many people are dating their dreams; they're not getting married to them, and that joker blew up. It had like 37,000 hits in 24 hours. And I'm not an Instagram influencer or anything, but it was like, okay, we're gonna make more of these. Like, and some of them make 300 and some of them make 20,000. I don't care. I'm creating the content that's authentically me, and I'm doing. The thing is something I only try to do, Kyle, things that I have to do. The thing is something I know that I have to do because I know that there are people out there that need to discover why they're here. In fact, we've just recently created. This is the first podcast I'm actually sharing this. And by the time you release the show, this will be live. But if you go to discoveryourthing.com, we've created like a 10-question quiz just so you can kind of figure out where you're on the entrepreneurship journey. And then from there, I teach a really quick class on how to find your thing and discover that. And then I give you like the best 5 talks from the thing over the past 5 years. And so it's really just an amazing, like, high value, an assessment, a mini course, and it's all free. All you have to do is just go to discoveryourthing.com and sign up right there. But man, I'd love to have your listeners, if they really are champions ready to be unleashed, I'd love to have them come join us at the thing. In fact, we'll get a code just for their listeners, and we'll just make it Unleash the Champ. So if anybody uses that code, awesome, they'll get a discount, and I'll give you that stuff so you can put it in the show notes and all that jazz.
Yeah, man, that sounds amazing. And one of the things I've admired about you from a distance, and even now it's intensified through our conversation, is just the authenticity. I know one of the things I watched, I don't know, it was one of the thing talks that you did about just like the journey of love and being you, and how you look at other people in the space, and it's like, man, should I do it like this? Should I do it like this? But you really have honed in your thing, and that's the reason why people are able to discover their thing. And so,
yeah, one of the talks is
a
actually
pretty cool journey.
One of the talks that's in there probably is a talk you're referring to. It's a talk called "Go In All In on You." And one of the people that I love that's gone all in on themselves is Kanye West. Dude, that dude loves himself. That dude loves what he is. He's super clear on what he's. But dude, he believes in his mission. He believes in his purpose. And man, I think the greatest gift that we can give to another human is that of belief. And the greatest gift that we can often give to ourselves is believing that like we have the ability to do the things that we've actually dreamed of doing. And when you start to believe those things and start to actually get around people like you just extended that to me, like, dude, I admire, I appreciate you. I'm watching you. I love it. And here's the thing with authenticity, man. I don't know anything else to be. I don't know how to be anyone but me. And I think there's a lot of freedom in stop trying to be what everybody else thinks you should be. Because trying to please everyone else is a dead end street that you will never reach the destination you desire. It just leaves you everyone's disappointed in you, and you're disappointed in yourself. There's just no win.
Right. Yeah. It's so true. I think there's so many times that I have found myself like, okay, I need to be this way for this person, or I need to be this way to get this promotion, or I need to be this thing or whatever. In the last 2.5 years since starting and growing and what Unleash the Champ is becoming, it's going like, yeah, this is a cool name, but it's me. It was the thing I needed. It was the mantra I needed to live so that others could experience it as well. And so many deals that in one season of my life, I had to dumb down or dilute or cover up, are now the things that people are like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, he does this. And it was a thing in one season I was told to limit. Now it's the thing that can be limitless.
And dude, if you're around people who you feel like you have to dilute who you are to please them, man, get that delete button out.
Like, absolutely.
Like, you know, and I get like there's character things we grow and develop, but it's okay to piss people off. It's okay to repulse people. Like, you shouldn't, if everybody in your life is like, whoa, you're the best, there's a pretty good chance you're not actually doing anything worth doing. You should be making some people feel uncomfortable by who you are. Um, yeah, man. And I think we've created a culture like, um, I'm going to go here just because you said I could talk about whatever I want to. I've kind of been watching like what's kind of happened around men in the church, and the expectations that we've put on our leaders it's not sustainable. I mean, I don't know what's going on in Matt Chandler's life, but if we're upset that someone's sending DMs on Instagram, man, we would be so disrupted if we had seen the people that God used in the Bible. Can you imagine if Solomon walked into the churches that you've been on staff at and like did his thing, like, right? Like, I think we look at ourselves and we're like, man, I don't know that I can be used. And man, I look at my life and I go, man, look at all the jacked up people throughout history that God has done phenomenal things with their lives. Um, you know, David wasn't going to be, he was a man after God's own heart. And here he is, you know, a murderer, you know, like he's got the list, and like, we sure ain't hire him. He's not getting a job at Life Church, you know, like, right. And so, and that's probably part of the problem is we are the people that, you know, like, I mean, Peter in the New Testament, like all of these. And one of my people, there's been a meme going around, and I don't want to get into like theology. This isn't a Christian podcast, and I know you didn't sign up for this if you're listening to this today. But there's a, you know, there's a meme going around that says the test of Christianity is not loving Jesus, it's loving Judas. And I don't want to, you got to go real deep to know what that means. But here's what I do know is that even in all of our mess, even in all of our, if you have been called by God to do something and you have been equipped by the Creator with a gift, a set of skills, no one can stop you. And, you know, I don't know where the world's going. I don't know where the church is going in America, but I do know that I'm here with a purpose, and I'm going to be as focused as I can on doing that. And I know for me that is, really focused on calling people to step into who they've been designed to be and unapologetically going after. And, and I know some of you may be listening to this and going, okay, well, I don't even know what you're talking about, Terry. But if you have been in the church and you've been in a situation where you felt like someone said you didn't measure up, I think you may want to pull out your Bible and read the people that God did phenomenal, things with. They were doubters. They were murderers. They were people that would be in jails, not in leadership positions in 2022. But those are the people that God used. And so don't ever say that God can't use you, because, and the only people that I mean, find me a perfect person in scripture that God did phenomenal things with. I'll wait, you know, like it'll be a long wait, but, and I think we put unrealistic expectation on our leaders. We put unrealistic expectations on ourselves. And I'm not saying, do not hear me say, man, go and do whatever you want to, go and like not live a moral life and not live justly. And, but go and like, know that you're not perfect. Have people who are there to help pick you up. And I think a lot of this really comes down to, Kyle, that we have forgotten, rest. We have put these expectations that we haven't learned to just be. And we haven't learned to, we've gotten so like, even in the culture that we live in this business world, that like we throw around the word hustle so much. And if you're not celebrating your rest as much as you're celebrating your hustle, you're doing it wrong. You know, I want to know the guy. That's how I know someone's healthy. When it's like, yeah, man, I'm off today, and I am not. I am relaxing. I am turning the phone upside down, and we are off. And that's hard. And for me, it's even harder in these seasons when the events are coming up. It's like, man, even just to go to dinner and it's like, oh, there's a lot going on. I gotta hope that someone else will figure this out tonight because it's not gonna be me. And and you gotta be really intentional about that. And there's a lot of things that distract us from our mission. And so yeah, man, that was a rabbit trail I wasn't expecting, but I'm sure someone will send you an email that I offended.
Well, it may offend, but as you said, it's okay to piss people off. It's okay to offend them. That was really powerful, man. Where can people find out about you, the thing, online, where do you live most? And then we'll start to land this plane.
Yeah, man. I'm everywhere the internets are. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. You know me, I'm making those reels, man. Don't come talk to me on TikTok. I'm just there because they told me I had to be. But yeah, I'm definitely on Instagram. I think Instagram I used to not like, but it's kind of become my favorite platform. But yeah, man, I'm terryweaver.com is my website. I gave you guys that thing website. So if you guys want to sign up and join us, that would be awesome. But yeah, man, I love showing up and serving people and helping people really just step into who they're designed to be. And, I think so much of our life, we lose out on what we're meant to do because we're just stuck on paying attention to what do we think someone else wants for us. And so it's funny that just like, what social media platform do you live on? It's like, I'm just trying to be places where I know people who need what I have to say are.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we'll link all of that in the show notes. We'll have links to everything and make it all pretty for people. But definitely go check Terry out. Go check out what he's doing. I can attest we'll say probably 10 years now, being in youth ministry circles, you were one of the first folks that kind of popped up on the radar of like who to watch, who was doing amazing things and who to model after. And so now 10 years later to be talking about the same mission, but a different environment is super dope, man. And so want to show honor to you for all that you've done.
And dude, honestly, I feel like I'm having way more impact and influence and life change than I did even that night where 500 kids made a life-changing decision.
Yeah.
Because absolutely. I believe that I'm called to be in the business of multiplication.
Come on.
And I feel like I spent much of my youth ministry years in the business of addition. And when you shift into a mindset around multiplication and multiplying leaders and growing leaders and raising up leaders, man, it becomes infinity of what's possible. Like there is no limit. The limits go away when you raise up other leaders. And so, dude, that's where I'm at in this phase of my life. I'm really passionate about seeing, I love following guys like you that are just like, man, you're stepping into this thing. You know, it's still new and fresh, but you're still just super passionate about seeing men and women become the leaders that they were meant to be. So, man, I appreciate what you do.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Before we get you out there, I got one more question for you. And so at Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast, we want to know, what does it mean to be a champion to you?
You know, I think of the moment, I think it was the last Olympics when Michael Phelps was in the pool. And there was that moment where he was the underdog for the race and he was racing someone else. And there was a scene of where I don't know the other guy's name. It doesn't matter. Who cares? No, history's not talking about him because he didn't win. But Phelps was eyes down, eyes on the prize. He knew the mission at hand. And the other Olympian was eyes on Michael Phelps. And champions know what the end result that they desire are. Champions have the eyes. And for Michael Phelps, it was the gold medal. He wanted to win the rest. In fact, I don't even think he was racing the medal. I think what he was racing was his best. He was racing to do the best race that he possibly could, that whether that meant he won or lost, he wanted to throw down his best. And that I think that's what really makes you a champion, is when you're blinders on and you know what your mission is, and you know that not everybody likes Phelps. I get it, whatever. But he didn't care. He wasn't interested in who else was in the pool. He was interested in swimming his race. And so I think champions know the goal, they know the prize, and they know that the race that they're in.
Come on, swim your race. I love it, man. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
You've been listening to the Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Our passion is to talk to successful people and hear all about their journey and what it took to get there. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hit up the website at unleashthechamp.com. Find us on Instagram at Kyle J. Sullivan and hit up that Facebook page at Unleash the Champ. Remember, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving.